Got our shock separated, and it just drops down. Hi everybody, Brandon back out here with you today on the 2000 Camaro SS. Today we're going to be working on the rear shocks. These are still the original ones that came on the car 24 years ago, and they're shot and the bushings are completely gone on them, much like the front suspension. We're just going to keep working through this and getting the car refreshed and handling and operating as it should be. So let me show you real quick what we've got going on. We've got our new shocks, our hardware that goes along with that. First thing that we're going to want to do is get the car jacked up so that we unweight the rear axle and the suspension so that can sag a bit. And then we go under and support the rear suspension so that it doesn't continue to droop down after we disconnect the shock, and that will be supported. So to get this process going, first thing that we got to do is pull the cover away from the mountings on this carpet and our trim panel right here. And then we need to pull away this trim panel. Now on the driver's side, you can just gently pull it away and the tabs will separate. On the driver's side, we have these little plastic quarter turn screws. There's 1, 2, 3. And then what I like to do in this case is take my T50 Torx bit, loosen the latch that holds the seat back in place, which I already have folded down. And then as you can see, as I've already separated on the driver's side, I go ahead and I pull the seat belt through the slot, and I just separate that upper trim panel near the sail panel away from everything. At that point, we have the ability to just pull the carpet back. So this is the way that you can do it without completely removing the trim and removing all of the carpet. Now you may have to tug on this carpet a little bit firmly depending on how long it's been on there. And then what you will find is that just forward of the seat belt on the left, as the panel drops off to where the seat back rests against, you'll find this plastic pad. If it hasn't been removed prior, just pull that foam pad off, and then you will have exposure to the nut and the bolt that secures on the shock. Let's see if I can get you a shot in there. There it is. So I'm going to go in now with my 15mm socket on a long extension and loosen that up. So I like to go ahead and put the extension right through the slot where the seatbelt goes through this trim and start to loosen it up. Keep in mind, you want your axle supported at this point while you're doing this. And once I get this a little bit loosened, I'm probably going to use my electric ratchet just because it's faster. Okay, that took a sec to get that nut off, but it is off now. With that done, we go ahead and just take that guy off. We take our rubber insulator off, and now it's just exposed. So we'll go underneath and disconnect the shock from the bottom. Okay, now under the car, remember, with our axle and suspension supported, I'm going to go under here and go to the 21mm nut securing on the bottom of the shock. And then I'm just going to quickly buzz this off. Okay, I had to go get a box wrench real quick to hold this on, and now we can finish buzzing this off. Okay, so as you can see, we got our nut off. Got our shock separated, and it just drops down. And as you can see, we also have the curved washer and an insulator on the bottom side of the top of the shock. So we'll make sure that we go ahead and have our stack up on the new shock set up the same way. And once it's through on the top mounting where the nut goes, we'll get the stack up there and secure the nut so that it hangs down. Okay, so back here with my new shocks, I can just go ahead and take my bottom mounting bolt, and I want to take the long sleeved end that acts as a bushing to go through the rubber bushing, come up top, and we need to get our new washer and rubber bushing set up here, and then we go ahead and push this up through the top, and then once it's through our top mounting hole, we can do the same with the other rubber bushing and our washer. Okay, now back here under the car, I'm just going to lift my shock back into place, get the shock through our upper mounting hole, and with that in there, I have plenty of room to push that through. And I'm also going to put a washer on this one because the nut is a bit smaller this time around. It's a 19 millimeter. And I'll just start to hand thread that on. This one's also a nylock, so that'll help keep it retained. Anyway, I put the washer because the new nut isn't a flange nut. And then I'll just get that hand tightened on there so that this holds in place. It's good. And then I'm going to go back on top and get everything secured there. Okay, back up top. Get my rubber isolator on there first, and then my washer, and then I'll start threading the nut on there. Okay, I had to move the camera out of the way a moment just to get that threaded on there. And I only threaded a few threads, just enough to hold it on. And I'm going to go back underneath and torque this down. So now back under the car, I am here with my torque wrench set to 66 foot-pounds, and I pulled my jack stand over further to the right out of my way, and now I'm just going to finish with the last torquing here. Okay, so that's secured, 66 foot-pounds. Now we're going to go up top and do the same, secure that to the proper torque. Now that I'm repositioned up top, I'm just going to tighten our top mounting nut, this time a 14 millimeter that came with our new shock. I'm going to get this tightened down. This is an extremely light torque value. 13 foot-pounds is all it takes. Don't over tighten it or you can damage your shock. And this will take a moment just because our rubber isolator compresses down a little bit. Okay, we're about there. Okay, there's our 13 foot-pounds. So with that, I will go ahead and lower the car back down off the jack, pull our jack stand out of there, and show you how we put our trim back on. So first thing we're going to do is take our little foam wedge and place it back down. It's hard to see down in here, but just know that this is what we're doing. Put our foam wedge back in on top of our shock. Okay. With that in there, I can go ahead and start rolling our carpet back into place. Okay, and with that, we can now take our seat belt, pull it out a little bit, get it slotted back in through our hole there. Now, can push that back through there. get our trim pushed back into place. So we have it like that. We have our seat securing bolt back in there. Got to make sure to torque that back down with our T50. Okay, that's nice and snug in there. Now we'll pull our carpet, tuck it back in under there. And this wire is just our speaker that attaches onto this piece of trim. And then we just snap our trim back into place. We have an upper. We have our two here. Okay, those are back into place. So these are now hooked back in. This upper one's hooked back in. And also notice that we have our plastic trim under our rubber insulation. I'll make sure that that seats correctly. I'm just doing that all the way to the back. Okay, with that back in place, you can take your cargo cover and slot it right back into place. And that's all there is to it. One quick note, I went ahead and just unthreaded this, took it out, and then set it back in because I didn't have the flat mating surface sitting on the outside of the trim. So just make sure you get that right. If this video was helpful or you like the content, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I am going to be putting more out. Also, leave a comment. It really does help me out to be able to continue to do this. Thanks, I appreciate it.